So what I'm going to suggest you do now, is it really critical to have a title for your, your fifth graders or your eighth graders? Probably in the grand scheme of things, no, but we're doing it for a different purpose. A title indicates to students your focus. I want you, as an experiment, and if you want to keep it as a lifelong practice, you will not be hurt by it. You will only benefit. I want you to title, obviously the course, but title every lesson. Title every lesson. Now, what does a title tell us? I'm going to tell you, as a teacher trainer, as a supervisor for PhD, master's, and bachelor's theses, I can tell you, and as I watch people give presentations, I can tell you what a title tells me. It tells me if the lesson is going to be poor or not. It tells me if the lesson is going to be poor or not. Let me explain what I mean. I can tell if the lesson's going to be poor because a poor title almost all, or no title. Well, no title, you're not sure. I'm nervous about no titles. Obviously, if you're teaching every day 5 lessons, it's tough to title it. But I want you to practice this, because a no title or a poor title tells me there's almost no way this is going to be a good experience for me, the learner. A good title, and I'll talk about what that means, has the potential to be a good presentation. Doesn't mean it will, but it has the potential because it's a good title. It's clear enough. There's focus. It doesn't, learners are going to understand what you're going to talk about during the next few minutes. Misleading titles confuse the bright learners. They're going to say, wait a second, but I thought you said this was about this. And honestly, the brightest students are the ones that are going to make you the most money if you're in business. So you don't want to disenfranchise them. Those are the ones who have the biggest respect, and they generally talk. And so when they say something, people listen. Oh, you should take from this teacher or that teacher. So, I'm not saying you cater to the best students, but you want to make sure that what you're teaching satisfies the best students. Obviously, it's going to satisfy the less students who didn't even pay attention to the title. All right. Titles help unify the lesson. Now, here's where it gets interesting. When we start to talk about in the next lessons about new activities, new apps, ChatGPT, all these different things, now it's going to make sense. You're going to say, all right, is this activity related to the title and the main question? How so? How so? Now, you want to be able to justify this. What is the key question? All activities, now we've gone from the title, now we're going to look at the key question that I showed you in my history lesson. What is the key question in your lesson? I'm going to give you a few questions here. All activities should move the students closer to answering that question. All activities that you're going to do in the class should move the students closer to answering that question. If it entertains them, that's even better. And that's what we want. We want them to have fun learning, but we don't want them to have fun at the expense of learning. It's not PE, physical education. You're not just having fun. You're learning. Obviously, we want to combine them, and I'm going to show you how to do that successfully. But you have to ask yourself, is this activity answering or, focused and related to the idea? So let's take a look at identifying good and poor titles, for example. This is an average title, first conditioner, grammar lesson, that's fine. But look at this. If I see the next 2 titles, I'm really impressed, potentially. Using the first conditional in everyday English. So if you see that title, what do you expect the lesson to be about? Let's hear from someone. If you see that title, you're in the auditorium, you're in the classroom, what do you expect the lesson to be about?
Dialogues, probably between role-playing dialogues, watching.
Okay, those are, yeah, okay, so now you're guessing activities. Let's talk about content first rather than just activities. What do you think, what's the subject matter about?
So we're going to speak about future, first of all, right?
Well, Everyday English. So we're going to talk about events or situations that occur in everyday life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
Real
So
time.
all of the activities that Natalia mentioned, all of these should be related to everyday English, maybe informal English, because that's everyday English, but things that we encounter every day. Now, we encounter a few things every day. We encounter sleep, we encounter food, we encounter movement. Most of us don't stay in our flat or house the whole day. So we can guess. Now, but see, students won't know this. You'll have to tell them that everyday English are things we encounter every day. Now, what does that mean? That means the things we say to our friends, our interaction with friends, that's every day. Our movements every day, that's every day. Going to school, going to the coffee shop, going somewhere. Our food, the food we eat, the food we're going to eat, that we might eat. So I'm expecting everything in this lesson, listen to me, I'm expecting everything in this lesson to relate to every first conditional and everyday English. Now, if it doesn't, then the teacher should say, listen, I know we're focused on first conditional every day. I'm going to give you one example outside. If you say that, that's fine. Then they're not confused. But if you don't say that, then you know what the smartest students are going to think? Wait a second, is that everyday English? That's only at graduation. That's once in a lifetime. You know, so and I understand that this is mainly high school and university and adults are going to be thinking in this way, but it's great practice because what you might happen if you're a school owner, if you own your own school, if you have parents who really want their kids to learn, and guess what? Every parent wants their kids to learn as fast as possible and in the best manner. You know, if their students struggling, and they're active, engaged parents, they're going to say, well, listen, can you tell us why you're doing that? And you should have a good reason for it. You should be able to justify every activity you have in the classroom. And your title and the question that answers that title is going to do that. Look at this one, explaining first conditional, practical tips and exercises. So now this is different. I'm going to expect that you're going to give you different ways to understand and remember. It's a tips. And then we're going to do some exercises in class. Now, the reason these two are better than the first one is because the first one, the first one is too general. Well, the first one's general. It's not bad, but it's very general. So that means you can talk about anything. The more focused you are, the clearer it is for the student to understand. But it's not bad to be general, especially if you're not sure the direction of the lesson, but the more you narrow it down, the clearer the lesson becomes. All right. You want to be able to defend yourself if someone asks, why are we doing this? What's the point of this exercise or of this Kahoots game or whatever you want to do? And we're going to talk about all these and how to make sure they align with your target goal of the class. A lot of you are I see this all the time. People are introducing games and things, but they're not, it's a little bit off. It's not exactly the focus that you set out it to be. So games should provide extra repetition and emphasize your main point, not cause dissonance or confusion with it. And oftentimes I announce it. Listen, we're playing this game, and the reason we're doing it is because, you know, this first conditional notice that these are everyday events. So I fill in the blanks for them so they're clear. They understand why they're playing this game. It's not just to have fun. Let them know it's not just to have fun. It's actually to learn something. All right. Key points from today. I want to talk. Now, I will give you a few more examples in the lesson that I upload. You want to identify the main point of the lesson. You want to articulate it clearly to the students, and during the course of that lesson, you want to do it several times. In this lesson, I've articulated the idea that simplicity, simplifying the message, and making sure it's clear is the most important point, foundational point when you start to approach a teaching moment. Make sure it's clear in your mind and not too broad. The narrower, the better. So for example, if we go back here, the reason I'm a little bit nervous about this first one, because I know from experience, the broader the title, the less clear the teacher is on what they actually want to do. I know from experience this is how it works. And so if you then analyze all the examples and activities, there's not really a coherence to them. The more narrow you have it, I'm going to look at everyday English. And let me tell you one more time why this is so critical. Students, the narrow it is, the more successful your teaching experience is, because students can remember this. Mom, we learned, every day, we learn first conditional with eating and all that, whatever you want to talk about. But the other thing is the selling point to the parents. Students, if you learn something, just anything, one small thing, they can show that off to their parents. And this is tangible progress. So we have to resist the idea of trying to teach them everything. Now, if we have an ambitious student or two who obviously needs to go faster, we can provide extra material after the class. We don't have to punish them for being extraordinary or wanting to learn more, or that they pick things up quickly. We challenge them individually, but we have to keep the class clear. Now, here's a question. So I didn't ask questions here, but we could ask, how do we use first conditional in everyday situations? And every activity I have is going to answer that question. How do we use first conditional in everyday situations? And so we're going to then all activities, the reason we ask that question to ourselves, you don't necessarily have to tell the students, is that will make sure your focus is that activity answering that question. If not, we have to change it or get rid of it.